All right, everybody, boys and girls, moms and dads, children of all ages, welcome back. Another edition of Freedom Steel. Todd Vandermide, former NRA contract lobbyist, here with you again. It has been a very hectic and busy week. We got our documents filed in our response to the state and the challenge to the semi-auto ban down in Southern Illinois. So the four groups filed briefs, and I was working on the FFL papers with those guys. And before I go much farther up, I want to give a shout out to Shauna Johnson. She was gracious enough to send me this coffee mug. No gun barrel coffee in it just yet. Guys, I hate to tell you this, I don't even own a coffee pot. I guess we're going to have to rectify that here shortly. But Shauna had a case that was going up in front of the Illinois Supreme Court. The lawyer was David Jensen on the case. I worked with David and some consulting and helping formulate some of the arguments for all that. But we will just have some magic elixir in it today. And shout out to Shauna. Thank you very much for the coffee cup. And to the gun barrel guys, I will have to get a coffee pot. I froze my ass off yesterday doing a two-gun train-up for some of the new instructors, and I could have used some of that coffee right then and there. But on to stuff. So we're going to break this down into several videos. We're going to try to cover just one small segment. And what we're going to start off with, there are a lot of things we didn't talk about during the drafting of this bill when the state was figuring out how they were going to word the ban. And we didn't want to teach them. We didn't want to educate them. And people are going to say, then, Todd, why are we saying this now? We're saying this now because we have to show the judge just how far-reaching and broad-based this ban is. And we have to say that in open court. Anything we file to the court is going to be a public record. So could the other side try to rewrite something? Maybe. But any change they make at this juncture is nothing more than an admission to what we are telling the court. They would be admitting that we are right, they are wrong. And I don't know that they necessarily want to do that, because if we're right on this issue over here, we're right on this issue over there. So with all that, let's jump into some of this. So let's start off, and if I seem a little spotty here, it's because I'm going to be jumping back and forth between documents. So let's start off with the law. Under 24-1.9, that's the gun ban. It's the part of the law that specifically deals with the banning of rifles, shotguns, handguns, a few other things. And it has the list, and it has the features test and all that stuff. So let's focus on the features test for rifles. 1. An assault weapon means any of the following except as provided in subsection 2 of this subsection. Subsection 2 are the exemptions. A semi-automatic rifle that has the capacity to accept a detachable magazine. That's the baseline. A semi-auto rifle. Notice they did not exclude rimfires. It's a big thing. They didn't exclude rimfires. And the reason was Don Harmon gave on the floor is they wanted to capture things like the Tech 22, a scaled down knockoff version of the Tech 9 that, is in a 22 long rifle. So let's scroll down here just a little bit to subpart 6. A shroud attached to the barrel or that partially or completely encircles the barrel, allowing the bearer to hold the firearm with the non-trigger hand without being burned. Now there's this little caveat at the end, but excluding a slide that encloses the barrel. So what's that? First off, they were too stupid. They were trying to write something for handguns, like a 1911 or, any modern semi-auto pistol that has a slide that reciprocates back and forth, and they didn't want to include that, but they're too stupid to take that out of the rifles because rifles don't have slides, generally speaking. They just don't. So the thing is, if it is a shroud that allows you to hold the barrel with the non-firing hand, that's it. Now, Todd's interpretation of law, Ruger 1022s in all configurations are illegal for sale. Period. Full stop. Well, how can that be? They're not on the list. You're right. They're not on the list as a named firearm. And the state police actually goes one step further. The state police, in their view of this, says, and here's their illustration, under subsection H, any firearm that has been modified to be operable an assault weapon as defined by 720 ILCS 5/24 1.9A. I can't tell if that's a 1 or an I, the way they have that written there. And here, they show the venerable 1022, unmodified Ruger model 1022, not restricted. Then they have a tacked out version of a 1022 with AR-style stock, a pistol grip, extended, the larger magazine. They've got the four-end handguard, something akin to you might see on an AR, and then they also have a flash hider there at the end. And they say Ruger model 1022 with aftermarket collapsible stock pistol grip and large capacity magazine restricted. Well, yeah, but you're wrong on the first part. The first part, that plain Jane 1022, the venerable 1022 that we are all used to. Right here, just as plain as can be. It's restricted. And the reason why is because you can hold it with the non-firing hand. So let's go right over here to this illustration. And lo and behold, look at what she's doing. In a classic kneeling position, she is using her non-firing hand to hold and support the rifle. With what? The traditional stock. Because the stock partially encompasses the barrel, allowing the shooter to hold it with the non-firing hand. Let's take another look. Here's another woman holding a 1022 with the traditional stock. Here's somebody with a left-handed version of the 1022. And look what he's doing. He's sitting there holding the stock, which partially encompasses, remember that's what the state said, a shroud attached to the barrel, or that partially or completely encircles the barrel, allowing the bearer to hold the firearm with the non-trigger hand without being burned. The fact that you're not getting burned is, in my opinion, irrelevant, because the operable part is you're holding the gun with the non-firing hand. And so here, if we flip back over, we have an individual with a tacked out 1022, similar to what the state showed in their depictions. And here you go. He is holding it up front with his non-firing hand. The folding stock on the back doesn't matter. The pistol grip on that gun doesn't matter, because it's a single features test. This is all it takes. And so if we extrapolate this, well, let's look at, so here's a bunch of different 1022s, and they all have stocks that one way or the other allow you to support the rifle with your non-firing hand. Well, let's go over here. Let's look at the civilian Browning automatic rifle. It's a BAR. It is not the BAR of World War II, but Browning nicknames their semi-auto guns as Browning automatic rifles. Here you have a Remington 742. Here you have the Remington Model 8 circa 1900. Here is an M1A. And notice on the M1A, it has that top cover as well as. That's not for keeping you from getting burned. It's to protect some of the operating mechanism that's in there. And a neat thing, let's jump back here to the Remington Model 8 for a minute. On that gun, it actually does have a barrel shroud. The barrel is within a shroud, and the shroud holds part of the recoil mechanism that slides back and forth. When you fire the gun, that whole assembly actually starts to recoil to the rear and move. But I digress. You go over here and look at the M1 carbine in both configurations that had the wooden top end and the ventilated handguard. You've got SKSs, and here's another Ruger 1022. And if we just look at these two illustrations of the standing or sitting position, here you go. They both show people supporting their firearm with their non-firing hand. And that's what makes this ban way so broad. And they can say whatever they want, but the 742, the BAR, the M1A, the M1 carbine, SKSs, modern semi-automatic rifles, with the traditional stock fall into this category, because it only has to be capable of a detachable magazine, or they say is capable of being converted to accept a detachable magazine. So all your SKSs are out. Now, other reasons why this gets important. The state has sat there and tried to use their dangerous and unusual argument to bootstrap in that there are 24 million ARs, and therefore with 24 million ARs, only 2.4% of the American population own an AR-15. Therefore, it is unusual because such a small percentage of the population. Well, counselor, I'm about to rain on your parade, because for the last numbers we can find, up to 2015, Ruger manufactured 7 million 1022s. That was up to 2015, 8 years ago. And the popularity of the 1022 style, you've got Volkortsen out there, you've got several others that are making 1022 style receivers and then building them up. You've got Tactical Solutions out there. They came up with a whole series of aftermarket parts with aluminum barrels, with steel bores for the rifling and all that. So I would wager to say that 7 million number for 1022 style guns is way, way more. And probably, I would say it's probably in the 10 million range. In an estimated guess, I would say that they are more than likely at the 10 million or close to 10 million. So you add 10 million to 24 million, now we're at 34 million. And as we keep stacking up other firearms that are banned, see, we don't need to be talking about the AR-15 and 24 million. That's one gun. Because they didn't just ban AR-15s. What they did is they banned a class of guns, a category of guns, and that is magazine-fed semi-auto rifles with no exemptions for rimfires. So let's be clear. 24 1.9 does not have an exemption for magazine-fed semi-auto rifles. There is a rimfire exemption for those that are tubular fed, with a semi-auto, and they exempted manually operated firearms from this part of the ban. But there is no exemption for 22 rim fire or even 17 rim fires if it's a detachable magazine fed rifle. And so that's where this thing gets way, way broader than what people are just looking at. I mean, we've just added in these, and we're going to be adding in more numbers, more guns. So we're hitting the 15-minute mark. We're trying to keep these down. We are going to have a series of these videos that talk about each of the features and the guns impacted by it and how this ban is much, much broader than what they ever thought they were going to do. So please hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, copy and paste the link here into your social media site, share it around on all the blogs and posts that you've got, as we intend this week to give the anti-gunners one massive migraine as we point this out. And I'll even post a link to some of the documents that are out there from our filings. And as always, guys, we appreciate your support here at the channel. We have broken the 7,000 subscriber mark. So now we're going to set our goals for 7,500 and then on to 10,000. So please, thanks again for all your support. And as always, frag out.